Welcome, everybody, to the Loud and Drunk podcast. This is Dan, and it's a special St. Patrick's Day edition of the Loud and Drunk podcast, one of my favorite holidays. Moses, is it one of your favorite holidays as well?
I am so excited about this because we are 43 days away from Arbor Day.
You. Just always with Arbor
April
Day.
26th. That's the holiday that I celebrate, and I enjoy St. Patrick's Day. Is that what you said?
You are a drinker, almost professionally.
Yeah, but I don't like to be
with
told to do it. That's why I don't drink on the 5th of July. Or May. 5th of May.
What?
Cinco de Mayo?
You don't know what days are. Justin, sir.
Oh, that's fair.
Just know
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's Day. So, coming up before all that 23andMe bullshit, I was told I was Irish. Turns out that's a lie.
That's why I don't do that.
Yeah.
I was raised Irish. I will not have any, conspiracy telling me otherwise.
No. Evidently, all those assholes in the New World Order telling me I'm fucking Norwegian. What the fuck is that?
You're probably better off with that because the
Shut
Irish,
up. I don't want to hear it.
Irish only got potatoes.
Yes. Okay. I love it. It's a good time to drink, and I got some stories to sell.
So is a Tuesday.
And I am Jean-Baptiste Figaro-Sinise, and I'm here with my lovely wife,
French
Nicolette.
bastards.
If you would introduce yourself as well.
Oh my God. You had to pick the most fucking extra name, didn't you?
Well, I mean, it's the name that my parents gave me, so I'm sorry. We talk about this very often. I'm sorry.
It's the name that you married
We need to keep going over it again and again. I can't choose the name that my parents gave me. It's the name that I have. And while I understand that Jean-Baptiste Figaro-Sinise is a long name, it's the name that I have, and I am proud of where I came from. I come from Netherlands roots and France and other places of this category, and I go by Figaro mostly.
That's Italian.
I'm going to go out on a really far limb and say, you almost have the language linearity from Gaul to Gaelic.
Yeah, exactly. I've crossed many a bridge in Europe.
Yeah.
Figaro is the cat from Pinocchio.
Yeah, nail on the head. That's me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Italian.
Okay,
Yeah.
So are you actually going to introduce your lady friend, or are you just living around?
He's
No.
obviously
Apparently,
not.
we chose to engage in a marital dispute. Before we get to that, this is the lovely Nicolette, my wife. She is here to join me for this podcast, and I'm very happy to be on here.
My husband picked me up at the local daycare. I'm not really sure where I am right now.
Oh,
I
it's
haven't
okay.
Shut up, baby.
I haven't seen my mom in days.
No, you don't need to see her.
Really
I'm-
concerned.
Listen, this
Daycare is a
you guys
weird
can
way
ignore
to
this.
say
It has
officer.
nothing to do with. Let me talk to her in the other room. You guys continue.
Well, we'll handle that after the podcast. We're rolling and play nice, boys and
We're
girls.
going to do our best. Let me just slap her around a bit. Let's see what happens.
Okay, can we not do this in the first 2 minutes of the podcast?
Yeah. We are now unhostable.
This is why we're not on YouTube, baby.
We are on YouTube. I
I'm
keep
sorry,
telling
you
you.
made,
This
you
is
made
why
a
we're
comment
not.
about how you picked me up at a daycare in the last podcast, so I was rolling with that.
Oh,
I
that's
was
fair.
rolling with it.
Somebody remembers other podcasts.
At least somebody does.
Yeah.
I thought
It's
it
not
was
us.
a good one. I don't know. I thought it was a good intro.
I like where your head's at.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, let's bring this back to St. Patrick's Day
Please.
instead of playgrounds and daycares.
Yeah.
So St. Patrick's Day is one of my favorite holidays. My grandfather actually told me at one point that he actually never worked on any St. Patrick's Day because he always took it off.
That's wild.
God bless.
I was raised to be Irish. Like
Yeah.
I went to the Irish festival. It's actually the first place that I ever tasted a beer. Like 6, 7 years old,
that
however old I am.
absolutely tracks. Yeah.
So I had the hiccups, and I just like tug on her shirt, and I'm like, I have the hiccups, and he's like, he just hands me a Miller Lite, and she's like,
Shut
drink
the
this.
fuck up, boy.
You're ruining this for everyone.
But also, one of my good friends from the Navy, very Irish. He was, I believe his dad was right off the boat. So he was very Irish. Yeah, used to like listen to Irish music all the time, like Dirty Old Town by the Pogues, like every St. Patrick's
Well, yeah,
Day.
especially the Pogues. Yeah, absolutely.
I still listen to that to this day. But there was one year that we all decided, because we're in the Navy and we're, drinking to excess, as one does when you're in the Navy, we rented a limousine. We were going to like hit up the Virginia Beach area and, get wasted. Somebody decided they were going to get wasted a little too soon.
Is it me?
A little too much
Was
of the
it Moses?
Ishkabaha.
No, I did not know you in the Navy, and I don't think they would have allowed you in the Navy.
Well, I wasn't allowed in the Navy. That doesn't mean I wasn't there. Oh, do you know a guy named by Ricky Spanish?
Ricky Spanish.
Ethereal.
That was
Love
me.
it.
So anyway, this guy, he drank a little bit too much at the first bar. And so by the end of the second bar, he had thrown up in the limousine. And so we had to drive around the entire damn night.
With vomit in the limo?
Vomit in the limo.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Defeats the whole purpose.
Of the limo.
Yeah.
Just like there's like 7 windows on that thing.
Yeah. And
They
there was
don't all go down, though.
No.
Yeah, but some of them go across and you can just vomit on the roof.
What?
What? I don't know what that means.
You mean vomit on the other cars going by?
You do have that trajectory.
Okay.
Trajectory.
Moving on.
Moving
Dan,
on.
continue with your story.
Well, that was pretty much it for that end. But like moving on to when I first got out of the Navy, my brother and I used to go to the Seaside Heights St. Patrick's Day
Shit show.
Yes,
parade.
yeah.
Shit show. Yeah.
Yes, I think that year it was on a Saturday, and we were just desperately trying to watch the Flyers Rangers game, and there was no place for it to even like come on. So at one point we made it all the way, I think, to the Sawmill, and it was like standing
wow.
room only.
Yeah.
We were able to watch the game, but as we're standing there, let's just like intently watching the game. At one point, like I guess like a couple people pass us by, and he looks right at me, and he's like, "Somebody pinch your ass?" And I'm like, "No," and he's like, "Oh, somebody pinched mine," and I'm like, "What the hell
What
is
the
happening?"
fuck are we talking about? Jumping off of what, Dan, you were just saying. So, like, where we are in New Jersey, so basically we're located in Ocean County. So, basically you run up to Monmouth County for Belmar, for the Belmar St. Patrick's Day Parade, or you have the Seaside St. Patrick's Day Parade.
That's a chore.
Both of them are
a chore.
chores. I was only at the Seaside one. I have a rule where I don't do what's called the gauntlet, and I don't drive down the Seaside on the Barrier Island.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cops there are waiting.
I just refuse to do it.
Yeah.
At least Belmar, I can jump on the train
Yeah.
and go up there and get up. I mean, it's never a clean escape.
No, there's
But
no such thing.
I always get home one
Yeah.
way or another on that train.
There's at least 2 or 3 pregnant hookers. I
yes,
believe. Yeah.
yes.
And they want it.
Wow.
You're taking it too far, man.
So most of my experience is, and I also lived in Belmar for like a year, and so it was actually the worst year for the parade for me. But that's just how life goes, baby. But all of us more or less had a connection to Belmar for a couple years where we would go up there and had a place to, like, hang out and whatnot. But I mean, it's just shit show. Horrible.
Yeah, I never went there for the parade in Belmar. Like I was there for a couple of years because I was working there.
Yeah.
Like at that.
Yeah.
On the main street where they have the parade,
Yeah.
and everybody came there
Mm-hmm.
because
Is that a sexual euphemism or?
I wish it was,
Okay.
but it was just it's just hanging around a bunch of drunks.
It's fratty.
It
And also,
is
it's
frat.
got a frat
Yeah,
boy
that's
feel.
very
actually
like
the
a
best way to put it,
21 to like a 25-year-old thing, and
Yeah.
then you get like tired of it, and then you get to see all the old alcoholics that still do it into their 40s.
And
Yeah,
It,
it's like
and
I
it
still-
gives you all the more reason not to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of puts that, it puts like it's almost like a fear of God into you where I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to do this to get drunk.
Yeah.
I could actually just enjoy myself at
Like-
my home and get drunk with friends.
Like, I don't want to be doing this.
Mm.
And you're just still there because you can't get out of it.
it's like a tradition.
You're just
thing.
there. It
That's
is a
what
tradition
it's a
thing. And, like, I appreciated that for, I guess, what it was, but I hated.
Well, you're like 60 years old or something. so you've been doing
I
it
am
for a
like
long
60
time.
He's
or 70
65,
years old.
actually.
He's 65?
Yeah, he just
Oh
turned
my God.
65. It was his birthday recently.
It was my
Oh,
birthday.
I missed it.
Oh, did
You did
Thank
miss
you,
it.
sweetheart.
we got to get you a membership in AARP?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I don't pay the same premiums you do.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Nicolette, did you ever go to any of those parades? Was that ever a thing for you?
I have been to the Seaside Parade, not the Belmar Parade, so I would love for you to enlighten me on if that is worse than Seaside, but Seaside was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Seaside is
I mean,
pretty
they're all
bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
Seaside has a little bit more public urination going on.
I would
like,
absolutely say yes.
Public
Yeah, it
urination,
does.
public vomiting,
Yeah.
public shitting,
Yes.
even, you know.
Wow. That's a bold move.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll take a
Public
piss in front
shitting
of
is a
somebody,
bold
but-
move.
Yeah.
That's a bold,
It
like,
is.
that's something that I'll piss anywhere, but to take a shit anywhere?
I'll piss
Like,
anywhere, and it's
Jesus,
like
that's
I'll try and find like a private place to take a piss, and that's mostly out of courtesy to other people because I know that it's
Absolutely.
unsafe.
Yeah, nobody
But,
wants
like,
to see your dick.
I
yeah,
don't
nobody wants to
personally-
see it. It's really
I don't want to take a shit in front of other people, and that's
You're
not
right.
only for them.
You're
It's,
right.
it's for me.
I can very much not put myself in a mental place where I would just drop trow.
yeah, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could do it.
Unless I
That's my
really
most
have to
vulnerable
shit,
place.
like I can hold it until I can get
Yeah.
somewhere that is
I'm going to be honest with
acceptable.
you, between dropping trow in public and shitting in my pants, I might just shit in my pants.
Honestly, yeah, I'm not proud to say that, but yeah.
Respect.
yeah.
No,
Respect
I'll
on that.
shit outside of my pants if I have the opportunity. Because you gotta carry that around.
Now, understand, this is, yes, we know this is a very odd tangent, but this is very core to the
To
New
St.
Jersey
Patty's Day,
Shore
yeah.
St. Patrick's
Well, I mean,
Day
in
parades.
fairness, when you talk about like New Year's Eve in Manhattan, people wear diapers.
And they do
there.
And we
that.
talked
Yeah,
about
no,
that.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
We talked
There
about
is
that.
A
We did,
thing of
yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
it's just weird that like, no, I will shit outside of my pants at any point. That's my goal: is to shit outside of my pants.
That's where you're drawing the line.
Well, yeah. When I shit inside
The
my
bar
pants,
is low.
then everything is over.
Yeah.
Like, because then it's just no caution to the wind.
All right,
Because I'm going crazy if I'm shitting in my pants.
So I've even been to the bigger St. Patrick's Day parades. Like when I was in high school, I was a band nerd, and we marched in the New York St. Patrick's Day parade.
Well, that's got to be neat, though. Like,
No, it sucked ass. 45 fucking blocks.
Well, I mean,
That's a lot.
yeah, but you were
Playing
young
the-
and you could
Dude,
do it.
45 blocks sober? That sounds terrible.
Yeah, horrible. But I also fucked up, Christina and I, and went to Boston proper
That's a big
on St.
Irish area.
Patrick's Day weekend. And somehow didn't realize it was St. Patrick's Day
How did that
weekend.
even, like, I'm curious about
Yeah.
how it occurred.
Okay, so basically, Christina's cousin and her brother were going to Seattle, and a bunch of other friends. And Christina and I couldn't work that out in time, so that was already locked in. They had flights
To go to Seattle.
to go to
with them.
Seattle. Yes. So we ended up getting the free time, but like, oh, well, we can only really do like a drivable trip. So like, well, why don't we go to Boston? We haven't been to Boston yet. Obviously, like we live between New York and Philadelphia. It's very easy to do that. But we're like, oh, we'll go to fucking Boston. I don't know how we fucking missed the fact that it was St. Patrick's Day weekend. But we did.
Like
We absolutely did.
I did that just trying to go to a brunch in Asbury. And it's so like, oh, me and Nancy had planned on going to this brunch, but it was St. Patty's
Yeah.
Day weekend. And like they were doing their thing. It's like, oh, there's no way we're getting in there. And we learned that when
We didn't even consider it. Also, we usually have like somebody has a bullshit party for St. Patrick's Day. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Normally, yeah.
And we were just so caught up in just trying to do a trip that we make up for a trip that we missed out on. So, and try to do a local trip. Boston's like 6-7 hours driving,
Yeah,
depending on the
yeah,
season.
it's
Local
not
enough,
terribly
yeah.
far. It's
So,
an easy
yeah.
trip.
We did. We'll do like a Thursday to Sunday, like leave Thursday, get home Sunday type trip. That particular year, like I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, and it's just amazing. We got there on I think St. Patrick's Day, so it was also the worst. Like I think St. Patrick's Day was the Saturday, which if you know how like any of that works, if you have St. Patrick's Day on a proper like weekend night,
yeah.
it's just 10 times fucking worse. And we get there like on Thursday, and it's like, man, there's like a lot of people around here and shit, but like it wasn't too bad. We could still get into places. And I don't think we fully realized like day two, like the day before St. Patrick's Day proper, like we're in fucking Boston, which is a massive Irish, I don't call it population, but Irish tradition city.
It's where people go to celebrate this holiday.
Oh, yeah. If you were to go anywhere in the United States for a St. Patrick's Day celebration, like Boston's.
Yeah. If you think
kind of the
St.
place to
Patty's
go.
Day, you're not thinking Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's the only real city that has any like real.
I think Chicago, don't they?
Chicago does.
Yeah,
they dye the
river
fucking
green.
rivers
Yeah,
green
yeah.
and shit like that.
They make it a point to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is the people of Boston.
Boston.
They really take on the identity of the Irish, you know what I mean? And it's like I said, I think we got there like Thursday afternoon. We had like Friday to be kind of like cool and like walk around and be able to get into shit. Saturday, it hit us.
So how many people tried to fight you?
Actually, not that much.
Oh, I love
we
that.
weren't in
That's
Southie.
good.
There was no
But-
sports going on.
Any like where we could get into bars and restaurants the previous 2 days, I'm talking even the shittiest fucking piece of shit little fucking bar with no production ever had like a 500 person line
Jeez.
wrapped around the building.
Not for me.
No, we walked around. I mean, that was the most walking we did of any day of that fucking trip, but it was just drunk 20-year-olds and just lines. So, like, we actually got into like a place or two, like waited 45 minutes, got in, and then it would have taken another 3 hours to get from the door to the bar.
Ugh. Yeah, not for me.
And it's just people bumping into you.
Yeah.
It's an excuse. There's something about, and like I said, I grew up thinking I was Irish and later learned that I wasn't.
Yeah. Everybody's Irish here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just by the nature of what New Jersey is. It's
Yeah,
largely
welcome to New
Irish and
Jersey.
Italian.
Yeah. Everybody's Italian. Everybody's Irish.
Yeah.
Maybe German.
But like in Boston, they take it seriously, and they're not. It's like Mexicans.
Yeah.
Like, we're Irish today,
yeah, fucking I, yeah.
and we're gonna drink till we fall over, or drink till we're halfway falling over, and punch the shit out of whoever's next to us.
I love
mean,
that,
anybody will take an excuse to get wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what.
definitely true.
Well, also like that's what I kind of want. St. Patrick's Day is like the day where you get wasted with reckless abandon.
Yeah. Which is honestly, that's I love holidays like that where you have to kind of throw caution to the wind. It
Yeah.
gives you an excuse to, I don't know, kind of like envelop all of what this is and embrace it in this terrible way, which is enormously self-destructive, but it's great.
It's also funny too because like St. Patrick's Day is in America is a very different thing than what it is in Ireland.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, because they're
Because,
drunk
like,
all the time.
Irish people look at like what we're like they don't eat corned beef and hash or
Yeah.
like corned beef and potatoes.
I don't
and
really get what that is.
They don't know what corned beef. No one knows except for
Yeah.
Jewish people.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm fucking Jewish.
It is a
and I like
Jewish
grew
meal
up and it's
that
like I
it's-
was introduced to this and everybody was telling me like I need to like it and I'm like, this is terrible.
Right?
food.
They're like, what the fuck is
Terrible.
that? You have
No,
like a
we-
beef stew.
Yeah.
We have corned beef or we have pastrami. What do you want?
Oh, are Irish known for pastrami?
No.
They're
Can I have both?
no.
Is that? Oh,
You could have one or the other, and you're
I'll
gonna
see
pick
myself
pastrami.
out.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But like,
I got to jump in here.
Yeah,
I do
please.
like corned beef.
Well,
I-
you love to
I
punish
like
yourself,
but like
Dan.
you just have to understand, it's almost the hallmark mark on that holiday that like it all gets bastardized.
Yeah.
And like you've talked to an actual Irish person, they're like, never had corned beef in my life.
Right, yeah, exactly. They have other terrible food to eat.
Yeah.
mostly potatoes.
Yeah,
Mostly potatoes, yeah.
Do not say potatoes is a terrible food.
I'm
Oh,
not
no.
saying that.
No.
not at
No.
all.
Good.
But
I
you
feel
know,
that way a little bit.
but you know what a
It's just
7-course
the way the
meal
Irish-
in Ireland is, right?
I think I know where this is going.
6-pack and a potato.
Ah, boy.
Ba-boom.
But it's so funny because like having met proper Irish people over the years, it's like they're happy to be their little fucking island. They got their own fucking problems,
Yeah.
and we all back them and wishing to burn Britain down to the ground.
I mean, 100% I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I'll add into this that myself and Esmeralda here, we actually did go and visit Ireland not that long
Who
ago.
Oh,
the
yeah,
fuck
let's
is
jump into that.
Esmeralda?
You're Esmeralda, sweetheart.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
how did that go?
Which part?
When you went to
Let's do the easiest part. How did your trip go?
It was nice. It was very nice.
It was nice. We were drunk the whole time and ate potatoes, so no complaints on my
I
part.
did not eat potatoes. She did.
I ate enough potatoes for both of us.
That's true. Yeah.
You are traditionally quasi against potatoes, if I remember
Yeah, I'm not a big
correctly.
potatoes guy. Like I offend the Irish and my Jewish heritage.
So our relationship is on the outs because I just
Well,
can't be
it's
with
not
a
looking
person
good.
who's anti-potato. It's just not for me.
She says that, but you know, being a
I'm leaving you.
well, listen, I'm a little bit Spanish.
Well,
so
at
I will
least stay
slap you
together
around.
long enough to get this story out.
Yeah, we do have a podcast to do.
So we did go to Ireland for what was it, like a week? Is that right?
It was a week.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember much. I don't remember much.
That's really nice.
No, she's actually right. My memory is absolute dog shit. So she's not wrong. But
I
you
feel
know,
like I'm having a conversation with my wife.
yeah, I'm right here, Moses.
Yeah,
Am I
but I
not
don't
your-
remember you.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll talk about that after the podcast. We had a nice time, though. I don't remember. What did we do? We just basically drank like whiskey the
We-
entirety of the time?
We drank majority of the time. I
Yeah.
did not drink whiskey.
You did not
I
drink
did
whiskey.
not. It's not my energy.
What were you
Um,
drinking?
I drank all the vodkas, all the gins.
Mm.
It's a weird thing to drink when you're in Ireland.
Did you drink any poutine? Poutine?
I did.
Yeah.
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
I called it poutine accident, but it's poutine.
Yeah, like poutine, isn't that with like gravy?
Yeah, that's Canada. Putin is like their white
Cheese
lightning.
curds and shit.
Yeah, I had some of that. I mean, basically, our trip from, I'll give like the super basic brass tacks of it.
Sure.
We flew in on Irish Airlines. What is it actually called? You know the name?
It's called Aer Lingus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Aer Lingus.
I know this because
super
we
nice.
just did a
That sounds
trivia.
like cunnilingus.
At least it wasn't Ryanair.
No, yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's their low cost carrier, right?
Yeah, that is their low-cost
Um,
carrier with the craziest CEO. on the
Right,
planet.
yeah.
Well, that
This was actually
potato.
decent. But yeah, so we landed there. We rented a car, which was about the size of like, I don't know, like a walnut or a plum.
Yeah.
That
an
was the
American
real
plum,
test
maybe.
for our relationship, where I'm giving him GPS directions and he's driving on the wrong side of the road.
fucking
And
hated it.
He
so
is pushing his
goddamn
seat up
much.
like he's 4'1", maybe 4 feet tall.
I hate
And then he's gripping the steering wheel. And I'm like, hey, baby, you're going to go left? And then he's like, okay, I'm going to go left.
She makes me so nervous because it's like there's like an anxiety in her voice that somehow like communicates itself to my soul. And then I just like panic behind the wheel a little
So
bit.
you guys are
I
like
think that's love.
Yeah.
That's what love
That's what we
is.
call love, yeah.
You want to know what love is?
Oh,
you go.
well, nice.
Hit those high notes,
Nice.
baby.
I'm glad somebody else sings on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get there someday, Dan.
Yeah.
But so you guys largely like base yourself out of like Dublin, right?
Yeah, so we were in Dublin, and so we were more or less, we were there the majority of the time, but we did take a few day trips, I think.
We did
That's
take a
nice.
few day trips. As much as I love my husband, I'm sorry. What is your name?
You, baby.
Jean Baptiste, blah, blah, blah.
Figaro, yeah, there's a Figaro.
That's it. I'm sorry. I have a lot of husbands, so I tend to forget, when they're in the lineup.
Dan, do you
it's
also
really
do
hard to remember.
divorces, or is it only podcasts?
I specialize in podcasts, but let's talk after the podcast.
All right, we'll talk after.
Because I mostly do bird law.
All right, well, you know what?
but I do bird
we have
law.
a few birds.
I hate birds. That's why I'm in bird law.
Yeah.
I wanted to do like a very much like around all of Ireland trip, and like as much as they say that Ireland is a small country, which it is, it was hard for us to get around. Things were much farther apart than we thought that they were.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like
So-
there was a few blocks between every city.
Yeah.
You couldn't get
It's
there.
crazy.
Not when you're drunk. It's very challenging. We did rent a car though, which was very tiny.
At least you didn't pull a Matthew Broderick.
No, he left that out of the equation.
He made out good on that.
For myself,
Yeah.
what I will say is that it was enormously challenging driving, getting used to the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
And I stand by that, the wrong side of the road.
Hey,
I
listen,
will say
I back
that-
fully.
I'm the person who convinced him to rent a car because I did want us to go to places outside of Dublin.
Which was a good move.
Yes.
And he's driving and he's like, why the fuck did you tell me to rent a car? And I'm like,
I hated it.
I'm sorry. I love you so much. I'm so
No.
sorry.
I've driven that in Barbados and like on the
I
opposite
thought you were going to
side of
say that you're driving on the wrong side of the road in America.
Well,
Because that's
Oh,
I
he
do
does
that
that
as well.
often.
He
I do
probably,
that,
yes,
but
that sounds
that's-
on par.
But that's fine.
That's on brand for Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when I was in Barbados, like driving on, it was hard to get used to.
Yeah. We were doing it. I didn't have a problem with it outside of Dublin where there was, I mean, don't get me wrong, the roads were very tight outside. So you would be in like a small little town and there's barely, like 2 or 3 inches on either side of the
Right.
wheels. So I didn't like that. But it was really just challenging inside of the cities where you had to deal with like that you're making a left-hand turn or right-hand turn and you're going onto another like 2-way highway basically. And it was one, I had to get out of my head the way in which you would normally go about this. And on top of that, there's just a lot of cars there and they're not really going to wait for you to figure out what the fuck
Yeah.
you're doing. So
Dublin
it's
is very much
challenging.
like the New York City of Ireland.
Yes.
Where
Yeah,
I would
very
be
much
like,
so.
you're making a left, and then there's 7 people crossing the road, and I'm like, you're making a left, and he's like, I'm gonna hit these people, and I'm
Hit
like,
'em.
no, it's
True.
fine.
This is how I
It's fine.
reacted.
You hit them. You hit them, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she did encourage me to kill a lot of people
No, I mean,
for no reason.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
if it's
they're
murder
Irish.
in
Nobody
another
cares.
country, is
It's
it
still murder.
really murder?
No, not really. No. It's just whatever you want it to be. Dan, I think she's right.
Welcome to
Murder is
welcome to the
murder.
Loud and Drunk podcast, everybody. The only podcast that advocates the cool crime of murder.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, you're totally going to be demonetized after this.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Wait, we were monetized?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Wait for you to assume that we were monetized at all. Yeah.
We were 5 minutes into this, and I was talking about how I'm a adolescent, so
Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. There,
What are you, 12?
there was that.
No.
I just turned 7. Please
Oh,
Shut
my
the
God.
fuck up.
No.
That's
No.
way too young.
Oh, God.
Cut the feed.
No,
Cut the
here it
feed.
goes. That was it, guys. It was a good run.
What else did we do there besides some sort of illegal acts?
We ate at a lot of, I don't want to say it was a 7-Eleven, because it totally wasn't.
It was basically a 7-Eleven.
It was equivalent to a 7-Eleven. We would black out and we would be wandering
Yeah.
around the streets of Dublin.
This is true.
And then we would be starving. And then we would be
You
like,
would be starving. I can live off of whiskey. What bitch?
Bitch, please.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Majority of the time you're like, I'm so hungry.
That
Because
does sound like
it's like 1 a.m. and we haven't eaten yet, and we wouldn't go to a restaurant. We would just drink all day long.
As one does.
Honestly, the thing that surprised me the most is that most things like closed pretty early, like bars and restaurants. Not really the bars, but the restaurants.
They stopped needing
I
food.
I
at a
have
certain
found
hour.
that to be a fairly
Yeah.
universal thing through Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stopped serving
Yeah.
food at like 8:30,
Yep.
9 o'clock, and then we are blacked out at 1 a.m. and he's like, I need a sandwich. And I'm like, okay, we can find you a sandwich. This
You couldn't find one.
But we did. We found them. And honestly, they were pretty legit.
They were solid.
They
Good
were
sandwiches.
Yeah.
Good sandwiches. We
Is-
did find a nice bar. I forget the name of it. We went back there a few times. I
It
don't
was
know if you were
called
gonna.
Bose.
Was that the place?
Yeah. That's what it was
Is
named.
this the secret bar?
No.
No, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This was like a legit on the surface kind of bar, and it would be like packed during hours that you would expect it to be packed during, right?
Right.
And so we go there. I want to say it was like the first or second time because we did go back there a few times, and we were like chilling, waiting for like a good spot at the bar, basically. So we're like standing this out the other, and we made friends with this guy who was basically the guy. I don't know how to describe it. The guy was like 17 feet tall,
Oh, okay.
and he described
That's a lot
himself.
for an Irish person.
It's a hell of a lot. Well, and now we get to where we're going. He wasn't Irish.
Oh,
He self-described. He was like, I'm a Russian Jew,
Oh,
and I immigrated here, and he had like a weird in-between accent, and he kind of like gave us a bit of his life story, and he was just larger than life, even beyond the physicality of it. Do you remember this person?
I do remember this person, and my only complaint about him, he was lovely otherwise, but he was severely religious.
I
where-
forgot about that.
uh,
Yeah.
How could you forget about that?
He-
Because I was wasted, and I remember very little when I am wasted. And he was like, "But Jesus," and I
He
was
did.
like,
This
"Who's
is true.
Jesus?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know this Jesus. I don't know. I don't know much about him."
He was, I guess, like evangelized essentially.
gotcha.
And was kind of preachy about it, which is almost the last thing that you expect to happen when you're sitting at like you're wasted at a bar in Ireland.
It's a very interesting. So Ireland has a very distinct, somewhat self-facing, problematic religion issue
yeah, of course.
with
yeah,
themselves
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
that was all put on them, and yet they're so much.
About it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
They're about it.
Mired in it is the best way I
That's
could
it.
put
That's
it.
well
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Not-
the color green
Yeah.
and the color orange with Ireland are two different. Like,
Exactly,
if I
right.
understand this correctly, it's between Catholic and Protestant.
Protestant,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that becomes the issue between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Well,
proper.
yes.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's also Catholic and Protestant whiskeys.
Yeah.
And you could be fucked up for drinking the wrong one in the wrong town.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Fucking
that's
hell.
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
We did not experience that, thankfully.
Thankfully, we
Thankfully.
did not.
We did
Well, I mean, so, like, largely, it seemed like you guys were in Dublin. You obviously didn't go up to Belfast or Northern Ireland.
No, we didn't. We didn't
Yeah.
cross that border. No, that was not the case.
That was part of my plan. I wanted to do that, but
Mhm.
then I heard about what comes with crossing the border.
Yeah.
And it's
Quite contentious.
yeah, it's
Quite
a,
contentious.
to do.
It's a lot more than I expected.
It's I mean, I can't speak for Northern Irish people; those under English.
The jackboot of
Yes,
England. Yeah.
they have a very large sore spot on the top of their island that is
That's
very complicated.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Our experience was entirely in proper Ireland, but yeah, he was an odd man out in that regard.
Yeah, he definitely was. He was very interesting to talk to when he wasn't preaching about Jesus.
The Jesus thing was strong, though. It was very strong. He kind of went on about it for hours and hours.
Yeah.
I feel like we were sitting there for a minute. with
Yeah,
it.
and I was wasted, so I was like, "That's not my thing."
Not my bag,
I
bro.
was like-
Yeah. And I was like trying to entertain it because it's like I was just trying to be polite because like I'm a foreigner in this country. But at the same time, like he was a bit of a foreigner, so I'm not
Right.
sure who I was trying to entertain with it. But it kind of just like it went on longer than it needed to.
I'm pretty sure when he left, he's like, "I love you guys, even though you don't
You're
believe
heathens
in our
and
Christ.
he- yeah,
Even though
it
you
was
don't
so
believe in
preachy.
our Lord and Savior, I
Yeah.
love you guys."
If I could ask a question, did you have a proper Guinness?
Oh,
Jeez.
we did, and it actually.
What's your opinions?
I very much, when people are like, "Oh, it tastes completely different in Ireland," I kind of was like, "All right, that's some bullshit. It probably tastes the same."
Sweetheart, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You are missing the meat and potatoes here. You got certified.
Meat and potatoes.
Shut up. You got certified as a proper Guinness pourer
So did our
at the
cat.
Guinness factory. That's true. We did get the cat certified.
Well, the Guinness did taste completely different. It did have like more of like a coffee flavor to it, and it was like a little bit lighter. You know how sometimes when you drink a Guinness, it's like you have one, and it's like,
stodgy.
okay, that's enough. Yeah. And it feels like it's too much. I was at a point where I was at like my 4th Guinness, and I was like, I'm good, you know? Like it didn't feel like it was like too heavy on me.
As a person that hasn't been there, and that's like one of the big things you always hear. It's like, oh, you've had Guinness, but you've never had Guinness in proper Ireland. It's a different thing, this, that, or the other. But I've heard that from several people. It called placebo or not, whatever. But like, yeah, you can actually crush a bunch of Guinnesses.
That's very
where if
much
I have
what I
a
thought it
Guinness
was.
here, I'm like,
We went to
done.
Esmeralda wanted for us to go to the Guinness
Esmeralda
factory.
loves the Guinness factory. She loves it.
I know this to be true. So we did go there. We went through their like typical tour and what have you. And there's a portion of it where they essentially, it's like a gimmicky tourist thing.
Sure.
But they teach you how to pour it properly.
okay.
Now, sweetheart, you are a bartender, so you kind of already knew the steps. They gave you a couple.
You know what pissed me off? Let me tell you what pissed me off about the Guinness
Please.
store. Is that she's like, there's
17 steps
yeah,
to
she's
pouring
like,
a Proper
she's like,
Guinness.
there's 5 steps to pour Guinness. And then she was like, does anyone know what they are? And I was like, well, I mean, you pour it, like you let it settle,
Yeah.
and then you push it back and you re-pour. It's like you have to push the handle that's on the tap in different positions, which to me was 3 steps. And then she was like, no, it's 5. And I was like, okay.
First,
What
you
are
have to
the-
wake
what
up
are
in the
the-
morning. That's
What
step
are
one.
the other steps? The first step was you pour the Guinness and then you take a sip. And then the last step
What?
was after you pour the Guinness, you take a sip. And I was like, bitch, be fucking
So
for
they
real.
put quality control in there?
yeah.
You're telling me that the other steps are drinking it? I'm like, those aren't steps.
I thought one of the steps was going to be thanking Jesus.
Yeah.
That said, the Guinness tour I thought was overall pretty good. I enjoyed it. You got to
It
drink a bunch
definitely
of beer.
was enjoyable. It was kind of like a one-time thing. Like if you go to
Yeah,
Dublin,
you
you
don't
have
need to
to
go
do
back,
it, but
yeah.
you don't need to do it a second time if we
Yeah.
go back. I don't
Very
feel like
touristy.
I feel like it's like a
have to do it.
compulsory type thing
Yeah,
you do.
yeah.
What was cool, though, is that when we left there, and I do not remember the name of this place, but it's a fucking hole in the wall. Not far from there. Short walk. We went into that fucking bar. How do you describe it? It was like fucking...
It was like a speakeasy. That's how you describe it.
It was this bar that we went to. It was a stereotype of a bar that you're not welcome at. That
Oh,
was
like a
essentially-
club bar.
Yeah, exactly. So we walk in. The place is like old as the fucking hills, which is cool. And all of the people drinking there were like 120 plus. You know, they were just
They
ancient.
came with the bar.
Oh, I
They
think
came
we're-
with the bar.
I think we're talking about 2 different places.
Oh, I'm talking about the place that we went like right after we left the Guinness Brewery.
Yeah, that was a place where it was like stone walls.
Yeah.
And like falling apart, like the stone is falling
Yes.
off of the walls.
Into the bar area. You wore a helmet when you walked in.
You did.
But there was like a bunch of old men there, right?
Yes.
And it was just like, and everyone there knew everyone else, like their deep stories, you know?
They
it
were
was
like assigned seats.
Exactly. Yeah. It was really like that.
I think there were literally 3 seats at the bar.
Yeah. It was at like a tiny bar. Yeah. Not like this country. So it was like, there was 2 seats and we sat down and it was kind of like everybody's looking at us. And there was an old man who was sitting like he was closest to me.
Yeah.
And it was very awkward, you know, because it's like clearly we don't belong. And tourists are not going there. And
So you're sitting in Kira's and Neem seats.
yeah, exactly. yeah.
Exactly.
And this old man sitting next, he was just like, at some point, he was just like, "Where are you from?" But I won't even try and butcher the accent. But it was so difficult to understand what he said. And and we told him, like we're just Americans and we're just here visiting. And we heard that this bar was cool, and that was it. It was friendly as shit and what have you. It was like a flat flashback to another time almost. And the rest of the time we were there, we stayed there for a few drinks, I think. The food was terrible, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Well, it's Ireland.
Yeah,
All
it's
the food
Ireland.
is terrible.
The food was bad.
My other favorite bar that we went to was called the Blind Pig.
Oh, that was great.
And
yeah. I forgot
you
about
had
those.
to walk down a set of stairs that were kind of like in an alleyway, where I looked it up on my GPS because another bartender had told us that we should go there. And I look it up on my GPS and like it's not coming up. And I'm like very confused. Like we walked to the place and I'm like, there's no door, there's nothing. I'm like, okay, where the fuck are we? And then a guy looked at us and he's like, are you looking for the Blind Pig? And I was like, yes, that is what we are looking for. And then he takes us down this like set of alleyway stairs. And then you have to hit this little like pig button.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, it looks like a pig face, but it's a button.
It's
And
like
then
You push its nose.
And then
It's
it
like that,
opens
yeah.
it opens this door that looks like a bookcase. And like realistically, it literally looks
It's like
a
an
bookcase.
elevator door.
Hold
that
on,
looks
hold on.
like a
Did you
bookcase.
two become Batman and Robin after you did
We
this?
did, yeah.
Dan, you can't
yes.
tell anyone that.
It was 10:54. That's the time that they needed on the clock.
And we walk in and they're like, you have to have a reservation. And the first time we went in there, we were
They were, like, almost
okay,
offended.
we don't have a reservation. And then they were basically like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It was kind of rude. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next day we made a reservation and it was some of the best food and the best drinks.
The way that we found out about that, we were indeed told about it by somebody else. But what happened was that we were in a neighboring city, somewhere that you wanted to go, sweetheart. And so we drove out there, wandering around this and that, and we're walking back to the car basically. And we were looking for a drink and nothing was open, this and that. And we see like an A-frame sign on the sidewalk. And obviously it's like an old city. So like every business is right next to another. The road is very narrow, etc. We see the sign and it just says like, there's a bar over here and there's an arrow and it goes down like a super narrow alleyway. And we were just like, fuck it. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe we get raped and murdered or maybe we have a drink, you know? So we go down this alleyway and it becomes increasingly old. In that, like, it goes from like the polished cement and, you know, finished exterior to buildings.
Like cobbled together stones.
Exactly.
And stuff
Yeah.
Like, that,
Like
yeah.
old school stone. And it begins to look like it's 500 years old. And eventually we walk maybe like 500 feet and we get to a courtyard and there's like a shitty fucking tarp up that says, I forget what the name of it was, but it was like the bar's here.
Right,
And it's
right.
pointing to the right.
Yeah.
It's
Are
like,
you
it's
sure
so
you were open?
yeah, it's exactly it. It's so poorly done. So we like bang out a right, and it's like it's another 10 feet. We walk through like a archway, again made of terribly old stone, and you end up in like a little like it's maybe like 20 by 40, a couple of chairs, you know, this, that, the other. It's clearly ancient, built 500 years ago. There's a lady in there. She's like smoking a cigarette, and she's like, "Hey." You know, we say hello,
Yeah.
you know, and then there's like an opening to what presumably is the bar. No sign. So we
And
walk
she looks
in.
at us and she's like, you're not from here.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I'm like, how do you
Yeah.
know that?
Yeah, it's
obvious.
painfully
Oh, I
obvious.
think
Yeah.
it's quite obvious.
So we walk in there, and the bar itself is like 3 stools. There's no room anywhere. The bar itself is 3, 4, 5 feet long, something like that. And the woman outside was the bartender. So she comes in and she's like, "What can I get you?" And there's obviously 4 taps, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we order up Guinnesses because that's the only thing that you can get. We get to shooting the shit with her and what have you. She was the one to say, like, you know, you guys are very lovely. You're a bartender yourself, so you were chatting with her about that and what have you. And she was the one to recommend to us this speakeasy. Getting back to that, though, the delightful scenario with that, and I feel like you undersell the delightful quality of how we were walking down that street, and they legitimately, we wandered up and down that road so many times looking for where
We could have been murdered.
I mean, probably not.
Yeah.
But we were like wandering up and down. We were using your GPS and my GPS and what have you.
Yeah, and the GPS says that you're here, and then I'm looking around and all I see is homeless people. That is another point. It was close to as much as New York City.
I was going to say, yeah, comparable to.
Ireland has a massive housing crisis right now.
Yeah.
They've been done in by a lot of outside investment, but that's a story for a different.
And I thought that my husband was an asshole, and then someone would come up to him and they would be like, "Can I have money or a cigarette?" And he's like, "Sure, here you go." And I'm like, "Wow, it's so nice."
No, that
Uh,
makes him a bigger asshole, actually.
And then he wants to talk about the movie
Yeah.
Prometheus
Yeah.
with that guy.
All those people were
That's a
working for me, and I
Chicago
was just trying to
story.
impress you.
He's like, "Do you know a thing about film?" We actually had one guy walk up to us and ask you for a cigarette, and then you handed it to him, and you're like, "Here you go." And then I'm pretty sure he took it out of your hand and then he just looked us in the eyes and then he just walked away.
I remember that. I was like, fuck that guy. He was so rude. And not for nothing, he was like, when I say that he was a white guy, I don't mean that he was an Irish guy. I think that he was an American who just like straight up stole a cigarette from me. I thought I was like doing something nice for somebody who was like disprivileged in some way, underprivileged, whatever you want to call it.
He was just some shitty frat,
He
bro.
was just some fucking bro. Yeah, it was brutal.
All right, so you were looking for this bar.
And eventually we did find said speakeasy. So basically we're going back and forth on the phone, trying her phone, my phone. And there was just like, it was supposed to be this spot. And we're right there. And it's like basically on like a major highway. So it's like, it's a main street, that sort of scenario.
It was on a main street, but like you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
You had to
in the middle
go down like a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Like down an alleyway, down a flight of stairs.
You would have to really kind of know where it's at.
So what happened is that we're sitting there, we're kind of like, we're paused now because we don't know where to go from here. And this guy who was standing out there, he was like the maitre d' kind of scenario.
Oh, okay.
And he's been standing there the whole time. He's like a black guy just like fucking chilling there.
He's watching.
He's just watching, waiting.
Yeah.
And eventually he was like, he sees us standing there and like, I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm just happy to go and get a drink wherever. But you very much still wanted to go to the spot. And he was just like, and we're like, hey. Yeah. And he's like, you looking for the pig? And we're like, yeah. It's like, over here. And he kind of bobs his head, and we walk down the stairs.
Yeah, I kind of felt like a badass for a minute. I was like, yeah, we're looking for the pig. It's me.
And as you walk down the stairs where he signaled us, so basically upstairs is a fully functioning restaurant.
Gotcha.
So there's no reason to think that there's anything else there. So it just seemed like he was just like doing his regular job. He signals us down these stairs. We're walking down them. And the first thing that you see as you walk down, there's a neon sign that just says, shh.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
Wow, I didn't even remember that. Maybe your memory's better than I thought it was.
I remember when it comes to bars. And yeah, it was basically the entirety of this bar was like, it was speakeasy, like the Great Gatsby themed, 1920s, late 1920s kind of theme. All of the walls in this area are like covered in just like art and so on and so forth. And there is a pig's head that's right there. And if you press that in entirely, that opens up the elevator door.
Like, I love it.
It had like a secret door where it's like sometimes you look at it and you're like, all right, that's a secret door. Like, I'm not a fucking idiot. But I looked at it and we were trying to get into the bar and it was a bookcase. And I was like, I don't know how to get inside here.
And
then this is not obvious.
And then I was like, what if I was like, there's a pig. And I was like, what if I press the pig? And then I pressed it and then it just opened these doors. And I even said to the bartender, I was like, that made me feel like a badass.
Yeah.
Really did.
Yeah. Once we got in, we were not able to get a seat immediately. They said, you have to get the reservation, this and that. We did schedule one. We went back. And honestly, it was fucking phenomenal.
The food was phenomenal. If the food wasn't phenomenal, I would have had questions because you had to do so much to get in there.
For all the work
The GPS wouldn't have even taken you there. So I was like, if the food's not good, then I have questions.
So I have a quick question. Is that the best food that you had in Ireland?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah,
I would say for sure. For me, that's how I feel personally.
It was excellent. I will say this, as far as the food that I consumed in Ireland, obviously they're not known for their food. I ate like goose liver pate or chicken liver pate everywhere that we went, which is not a dish that I normally consume. It was phenomenal.
That's a lie.
Though. What's that?
Wow.
We went to a bar like in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago and you got chicken liver pate.
I eat it whenever I can get it. It's rich people.
Which
also,
is every time we go out.
And he's shoving it in my face and he's like, no, you like this. And I'm like, no, I had it when we were in Ireland and I did not like this. And he's gaslighting the fuck out of me. And he's like, no, you like this. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I love you enough that I will take another bite. And then I took a bite and I was like, this tastes like blood and organs.
For those of you coming here for dating advice, just gaslight
this
the
isn't
fuck
that
out
episode.
of yourself.
Yeah, that's what you do. And
then
works.
I said it tastes like blood and organs. And he's like, so you like it?
We enjoyed the pate, right?
The one thing I
You and
will
me?
say is
You did.
maybe Justin and Moses can relate to this. I know that Pete cannot. That in Ireland, they take goat cheese
Yeah.
and they put it on fucking everything.
Everything.
I love
Yep.
goat
And
cheese.
I
love
love
goat
goat
cheese.
cheese.
I
Pete
do love
did
goat
not.
cheese.
He was not happy about
Who's
what's her
Pete?
name?
Listen, we do that once an episode anyway,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Nobody
It's-
knows who he is.
The audience has come to expect that we screw up the name
Yeah.
halfway through the episode anyway.
But they
so
had
you're
like
good.
mozzarella sticks, but it was goat cheese.
Yeah.
That's
it was like
interesting. That's a
and
strong
gross.
flavor
And
for a mozzarella
it
stick.
was
Well,
was.
you gotta
I don't know if I
amazing.
could do that. Like, I like goat cheese, but like a mozzarella
Ireland and
stick
Scotland,
in
they're
that way?
real big on goat cheese, lamb, all
That's
that
what
type
they
of shit.
got.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Highland type stuff.
As a mozzarella stick enthusiast,
Oh, he is.
I would
Dan
definitely-
is a mozzarella stick enthusiast.
I would definitely like to try it at least.
Yeah, it's so good. It like melts right in your mouth.
I actually, and I'm not a big cheese guy, but I do have an appreciation growing up having goat cheese, and I do enjoy it. It is quite assertive, but yeah, I understand. And yes, our friend here is not a big cheese person,
That's true.
and so I can understand that.
The only other thing that I can really add about Ireland, and this goes back to the driving aspect of it, there was one night that we were there. We were coming back from wherever we were. And,
I remember very little of Ireland, so I'm scared for this story because I was
Oh,
blacked
fair
out
enough,
for
yeah.
90% of it.
I was
boy.
so I will say
wow.
this: as much as I love the drink, and this was actually to my chagrin while we were there, I did not do any drinking and driving there, because they take it very seriously. You can't just skate by like you can.
John
Yeah, you
Baptiste,
can't, yeah.
I've known you a long time, and you are a scaredy cat when it comes to that shit.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
respect.
yeah. We were on our way back from like a journey of whatever it was, and we were just trying to get back to our hotel. The parking when you're in Dublin, so if you ever go there, my recommendation would be to not park in the center of the city.
Right.
It took us like a week being there to
It's
figure that out.
very much like the New York City of
Yes.
Ireland.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
parking is a bitch. You have
It's a
to pay
big
like
problem.
fucking $50 a day. It's
Yes.
crazy.
It's their
And-
primary metropolitan area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very challenging to drive there. We're coming back, and my phone had been dead for hours, and her phone is just about dying. And we're like pretty close to the hotel that we were staying at, which is where we needed to park. And we're only a few blocks away. Let's call it like, 12 blocks,
Sure.
something like that.
This was
Her
our
phone-
ultimate test.
Her phone dies, and we do not know where we need to turn. And I'm just driving, and we like pass where, like, we see where we needed to turn as we pass it. And now there's no good way to get back to that place. So now we're just kind of cruising around. We plug her phone in, we're trying to charge it, trying to get something going,
Right.
like a
Some
little
sort of information.
some sort of information, because I have no fucking clue what to do.
And I'm very much a person who's like no stress. So I'm like, turn left, baby. That
Yeah,
sounds
she's
good.
just like
I'm like,
no fucking
that's fine.
stress, but also she's not driving.
Which is
So,
great
you know.
for a high stress person
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're like cruising, and like we're trying to like stay, like, I know that my thinking is like we just need to stay near where we are. We know that we're near the hotel, so we can't get too far. We can't just keep driving
It's
straight.
the
That's
logical
what's smart.
thought. Like,
Right.
Let's just stay close.
So we end up on like some fucking road, right? And this is the thing. They've got like, it's like a trolley system built in. And so they've got markers on all of the roads there because they have so many Americans that go there. So they've got markers that literally say, you're on the wrong side of the road. And it's painted onto the road.
I think I
everywhere.
was wasted, so I don't
You
really
were
remember
fucking
this.
trash. You were so fucked up. So we're like driving and cruising, and she's trying to help, and I'm trying to not fuck this up too bad. And we're cruising, basically doing loops, waiting for the phone to come back online. And we end up on like this road, and it happens to be one of these like trolley roads where the tracks go through it. So there's no painting on it.
right.
And we're driving down it, and it's like cobblestone and shit.
You're just on a railway.
Basically,
Like you're
yeah.
driving
And
on
I'm
a
like
railroad.
and I'm thinking to myself, because I see it like we're following another car who's like, it's got Irish plates. So
Doing
I'm like,
the wrong
I'm like,
thing,
this
too.
person is doing the right thing, so I'm just gonna follow them. And then they make like a left to get off, and I continue straight, and I'm like, okay, I'm still good. I'm following like the straight line. And then there's like headlights coming towards us, but they're a ways off. And I'm like looking at the road, and I see no signs, which is atypical for there. And I'm like, are we on the wrong fucking side of the road? I was like, am I
You're
fucking
playing,
this up?
you're
There's
playing
not a lot of
chicken with a
cars.
train, son.
Yeah, right. And I'm starting to think to myself, I'm like, we need to stop, because like I can't fucking drive into another fucking car in another country. I don't even know what the consequences are.
Right.
And we're cruising. She's telling me like, oh, everything's fine, but she's wasted situation. So like, I don't even know like what I'm supposed to do. And it
I'm
ends.
sorry for feeding you positive affirmations in this time of need.
We ended up pulling like it was like a fucking 27-point turn in the middle of the road. I hopped a curb. We ended up doing that and somehow we made it back to the Actually, no, we parked at a totally separate. We found a different lot that was just a way better situation and then just walked like 100 feet. And it's where we should have been parking the whole time.
There was like a train coming at us and like I'm
Oh my
wasted.
God.
Yeah.
So I'm like, baby, we're good. I'm like, it's
She
fine.
was just cool with it. Yeah. Our lives end right here.
I was like, if we die, we die.
Yeah.
All right, so I asked about the Guinness. What about the Ishkabaha, the water of life, whiskey? How was that there?
I drank Teelings.
Yeah,
Like the
which is excellent. I'm
entirety
always
of
a backer of Teeling.
Yeah, I drank it the whole time. The whiskey selection there, it's pretty much any place that you go to. Jameson is like considered to be like it's like a faux pas, you know?
It's the faux pas cruiser whiskey.
Teelings and Powers,
Yeah,
those are the drinks there. And
Yeah.
they're phenomenal. They're super good. And you can just get them anywhere. And they're just like, those are the cruisers there.
yeah.
I found them delightful. I ended up pretty hammered every single night just drinking those casually.
I remember the bartender saying to me, he's like, your boyfriend's an expensive date. I was like, I'm not paying for it. So I'm not worried.
We
It's
went.
fine.
We found a few bars that we liked going to because we liked the bartenders there. And I said to the bar, same as I do here in this country. I said to him, I was like, "Listen, last time I was here, you gave me Teelings. Give me something different." And then most of those guys themselves were drinkers, so they were like, "Okay, I got you," you know. But it worked out apparently because most people go there from the American tourists that they see, and we went to a lot of bars that like don't attract American tourists.
Yeah.
So what they described was they were like, if you come into like the bars that we were going to, they were like, if you come into this bar and you order a shot of Jameson,
Right.
we will refuse you and kick you out. So they said to us, they were like, we really like you guys. Like you can hang out here and drink with us Irish
They gave
folks,
us a lot of
basically.
free whiskey.
Yeah, and
They
they
really
just like
did.
they enjoyed us being there because we weren't like piece of shit Americans, basically, you know, because they don't really know who I am, and she's actually a lovely person. But yeah, so we got to try or rather, I got to try a lot of delightful whiskeys, but they were mostly of those brands.
Yeah.
So it was like various different types of Teeling, various different types of Powers. And they were all phenomenal, but we just like kind of ran down the gamut of it. That said, it was very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows Jameson. That's kind of like their international whiskey they have put out there. From what I understand, Teeling, Powers, Patties are like...
Patties. That's
Patties
right,
is like... That's like the big three of what actually people drink
exactly.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're used to, apparently, they get in so many people who are from America that want either a shot or they'll say, like, give me a Jameson and Coke, you know?
Oh,
and it's things that are, like, offensive to them.
Asking for an Irish car bomb is super offensive.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
get
a lot
why
of-
that would be
A
offensive.
lot of people don't know
The
that.
bastardization of what the drink is itself, much less the connotation.
The connotation.
I think it's more the connotation than what it
Yeah.
is.
I had a
actually is.
regular at my bar say to me recently who religiously drinks Irish car bombs. He was like,
Oh, God.
apparently ordering an Irish car bomb in Ireland is offensive. And
Yeah,
I'm
can you
like,
imagine why?
no
Yeah.
shit.
Literally,
like,
just
listen,
think
like,
about the name.
What you're
Yeah,
calling
exactly.
it. It doesn't matter what's in it. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, why wouldn't that be
The
offensive?
troubles
to
weren't that
Irishmen?
long ago.
Also, it's just a car bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not for nothing. It's like, imagine you walk into a fucking bar and you're just like, let me get a 911.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because I remember discussing your trip to Ireland with you. Wasn't there a bar in particular you had an affinity with, a particular bartender? He treated you very nice, like gave you whiskey and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. This was
That is
the guy.
the bar that you're speaking of, right?
That's the same one where he was giving me all those individual drinks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy was, he was
something
delightful.
I will say that I thought that as a bartender, I thought that was so admirable is that he left in the middle of his shift and like we had full drinks. So like I wasn't fazed by it, but I was like, he's been gone for a minute now. And then he comes back with like a grocery bag, a plastic bag, which we're not gifted with in New Jersey anymore. And he's taking out cold cuts and cheese
Oh.
and bread. And
What
then
was
he's
he
like,
doing with
who
that?
wants a sandwich?
This
And
is
I'm
true.
like, I will fucking kiss this guy in the mouth if he gives me a fucking sandwich.
That's
That's
legit.
pretty. That's
He's
pretty
straight
neat
up and
that,
just like-
he's
I
just
was
making
like-
sandwiches.
He's like a
and he
regular.
doesn't
He's just
have
like he's
to.
just like a fat guy, and
Like
he's just like,
I
he's
was
just making
fucking
sandwiches.
wasted.
You're just at his house. It's like, oh yeah, we've been drinking for hours. Let's have a sandwich.
Yeah.
yeah. It was just
Yeah.
like that.
I was wasted, and he's
That's
offering
pretty
me
neat.
like a bologna and American cheese, and I'm like, sure.
Bologna
Yeah.
American.
The worst fucking sandwich there is. And
They were bullshit sandwiches, but like these were gift sandwiches.
No,
you know?
and listen, you never
No,
look
it's
at
always
gift source in the
appreciated,
mail.
but, like, that's
it was
garbage
exactly
sandwich.
as she
Yeah, like you
described,
knew
so.
that he spent his money
Right.
on these sandwiches, so I was like, that
That's
makes me want one
appreciated, yeah.
10 times more.
My reaction was, I would just hope that anything that's akin to Europe would be above what we call bologna.
He
And,
got
like-
some bologna, some roast beef, some turkey. I'm just talking about
Roast
my
beef? He
He
specific
gave us
preference.
choices. He
Roast
did,
beef
yeah.
is expensive. So is turkey. Like that's you're like he's a
Might have been
good
cheaper there. I mean,
Also,
it
as
might
a bartender,
be cheaper there, but it's still expensive. Like he's a good bartender.
I loved that he left in the middle of his shift just
Right,
to get some lunch
Just to
meats.
fuck off to
I
go to the
was like,
deli.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wish that I had that privilege. That sounds great.
So this ties into my question for you, Esmeralda and Nicolette, whatever we're calling you in this episode.
Apparently, my name is Esmeralda. It's new
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
I just had a name change.
It changed during the podcast. So that goes into my question for you, though, because you are a bartender. Was that the best experience you had with a bartender in Ireland?
Yeah, no, that guy was definitely the best. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I do remember that the name of the bar was Bose, and he was fantastic. Like, even though that we were American and he could tell, and there were other people that were American that were going in there, and he was kind of like, oh, like, yeah, like,
You're
They're
Come
not
the
as
Americans.
shitty as you
you're,
guys.
yeah, like, you're a tourist, like, go fuck yourself, which, like, working at a bar where there is tourists, I feel that. Sometimes you're like, go fuck yourself. But he was he was so accommodating to us and so kind. I'm pretty sure that we said to him that, like, we are coming back to this bar for you.
yeah,
Like,
and we did.
He was making me sandwiches while I was drinking my vodka club, and I was like, I can't ask for any more. I really can't. Yeah, he was great. We would sit down at the bar, and he would see Pete, and he would be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he would, like, pour him a whiskey on the
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah, like I haven't been. Christina has been. She did it what I call the hard way, and like I will not do her story justice, but she did that whole Wicklow way
Oh yeah, the
where
hiking.
you walk every day like 20 something miles. Like you wake up, you walk 20 miles to the next place you're
I'm actually
staying.
pretty sure that I looked into that.
Yeah.
And I said to you that, like, we were looking to do Wicklow
Yeah.
Way, and you were like, it's not the vibe.
Well, I
but
mean,
then, like,
That sounds like a
you
whole
look
to-do.
at you look at my husband, whatever his name is, and he loves to hike for a ridiculous amount of time. So,
Like, and-
but for me, it's definitely
Christina
not,
loves to do
not
that. She
what
did
I
it. She
have
did it with her
liked.
cousin, and like it was a big thing. But like it is so weather dependent
Mm.
because it's all about the views.
Yeah.
But it's a very wet country
Oh yeah. Yeah.
with a lot of fog.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, okay, you walk 20 miles. Here's the viewpoint where you're going to see this beautiful vista, and you can't see 5 feet in front of you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's all about the hike.
Yeah, which they enjoyed and
It's
had
not
to
about-
do because that's what you had to do to get to the next place you're staying. And she still very much loved it, but didn't get to see fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me jump in here as we're about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Went to Ireland, obviously enjoyed yourselves. Is there anything that you would want to do if you went back to Ireland?
That's a very good question.
I'll let you take that.
That is a wonderful question because my vision of going to Ireland, as much as I love you, and I know that you
Oh,
planned
wow.
a
You're
trip
about to get
for us.
dunked on.
Yeah.
We stayed in
So-
Dublin majority of the time, which is like the New York City of Ireland.
Mm.
And I would love to see the other side of the country, which is very
That's
much like small towns.
Very
and, you know,
rural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rural. And you get to really know like the people and you get to know the bars and it's just supposed to be different.
Yeah,
You know.
my cousin studied abroad in Ireland. She was staying in Cork. And it's not like a small town.
No,
in comparison
but I
to
mean,
the rest of
compared
Ireland,
to
but
Dublin.
compared to Dublin, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed your trip to Ireland. God damn you! I wish I could go to Ireland.
One day,
meaning
Dan.
I've been meaning to go to Ireland because Navy plays Notre Dame every
Right.
couple of years,
Right.
but they always get crushed there. So it's like, why would you go to a different country to watch them get blown out like 72-3? Good job, Dan. Way to
Yep.
spend a lot of money on nothing.
One day
Oh,
you'll have a day off.
What was
Dan.
the one other thing? What was that you like almost slept through it? We
I
It
like
was
to
like-
take naps.
You
I
do-
don't
you take a lot of
need
naps.
I don't need any
There was one-
repercussions
Yeah, if
for
I
that.
could just, what I think you might talk, is this the parade
the
thing?
parade thing that
I
happened.
wanted to bring
yeah.
it up and I forgot. So
I
I'm glad-
nearly
The football
forgot.
thing, right?
The
Yeah.
football thing, yeah. So it was like
I was 100% sleeping through that because I can sleep
Yeah.
through a goddamn
It
hurricane.
was
This
like
was a
so
different
like it was a
story.
European soccer / football
Right.
match that was
Football.
occurring. We had no clue that was happening because we're Americans, so we
Yeah.
don't give a shit about soccer. So you were sleeping, sweetheart. And like, I heard the noise. I woke up long before you and I heard it outside. And there was a crowd, a parade. It was thousands,
A march.
thousands of people marching through the streets
And
singing.
they were all white, so it was weird.
I'm pretty sure you woke me up and you were like, hey, look at this.
I
Look
woke
at
you
this.
up at the very end, which was only because like I'd been like bubbling over and I was trying to let you sleep. But at the same time, it was like so much to take in. But it was the Irish team playing like Amsterdam or some shit like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but they were wearing, it was so confusing because they were wearing the other team's colors in a facetious way.
Oh, that's so weird.
And then, and what really got me, and this is right around the time that I woke you up, they were singing at different points other countries' national anthems, and one of them was America's national anthem. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, kind of like up at like the window, and I'm like watching it, and I'm like, you know, and I have to like, and I like didn't know how to contain myself.
It defies convention. We don't understand that's a way of how they operate.
Yeah. They shut down the streets by like, 'cause they knew that they were going to lose. So instead of like, you know, rioting because they lost like Philadelphia does, instead
They march in the Netherlands colors. Which
yeah,
is insane.
exactly. I woke you up and we did get downstairs eventually, and it was towards the tail end of it. But every fucking bar, because we were just like trying to get a drink at that point, and every fucking bar was packed with people wearing the orange colors of the Netherlands and so on and so forth. And it was just, it was baffling because it was like, because you were asking me like, why are they wearing those colors if they didn't win and this and that? And I'm like, I have no fucking idea. I have no fucking clue. And eventually we asked somebody and they like kind of explained it. And they explained it almost as like oh yeah, of course, they're wearing the opposite team's colors because fuck the Netherlands. And I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that. You know?
Clearly.
Yeah.
Great.
But yeah, that was honestly, now that I think about it, that was a delightful highlight of that trip.
Yeah, it was one of the like loudest marches that I've ever heard.
It
They were really making a
pales.
statement.
Yeah, it pales in comparison to like, I mean, not that I've seen many, like, you know, I don't live in a city, so, you know, I haven't seen many marches in this country, but I mean, my God, they let their presence be known. You know, like the police were afraid of this crowd, you know, you don't see that often in this country. It was delightful.
Well, you're not a football soccer riot, you know, football hooligan,
Yeah.
unless you do it in Europe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it makes me kind of envy that a little bit.
But also, you're not really a fan of this podcast if you're not subscribed to this podcast. So make sure that you do that and leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure that you search the name Loud and Drunk on YouTube. You're
Really
not finding
look
us.
for it.
You got to do a deep dive to make sure that you find us. Also, nobody knows what Rumble is. So, you know, also make sure that if you happen to find us on YouTube and Rumble, make sure that you like, comment, share, definitely share.
Yeah,
because,
that's the big thing.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
If you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content. Follow us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you enjoyed this particular episode of the podcast, then become a Loud and Drunk supporter at loudanddrunk.locals.com and patreon.com/loud and drunk. So for Justin, Moses, Jean-Baptiste, and Esmeralda, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dan. Thank you for joining us out there. And until next time, happy St. Patrick's Day.